This is Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.
I shudder thinking how the world can be so cruel. I lend my voice to those who can't. It's time we try, it's time we care, it's time we stand. It starts with a voice.
Welcome to the Special Chronicles podcast. My name is Daniel Mukowski. I'm the founder and host of Special Chronicles, an athlete leader of Special Olympics Illinois, and a former Southern Tribal Global Messenger. Our website, specialchronicles.com. To follow Special Chronicles on social, subscribe to our newsletter, find the show notes, and listen to our other series that we have, specialchronicles.com. This week on the Special Chronicles podcast series, a recap of Turin 2025, we're talking all about the Special Olympics 2025 Global Youth Leadership Summit that took place at the World Winter Games. And joining us is Sky Wiley, Senior Manager, Global Youth and Education, Youth Development at Special Olympics, and Lewis and Tim, who are the Global Youth Leadership co-chairs. Please put your virtual hands together with me. Welcome, Sky, Lewis, and Tim on the Special Chronicles podcast. I have to move. There we go. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
No.
It's good to have you on the program, and I've last month in March, I had we broadcasted a few episodes related to the Spread the Word campaign, and so we highlighted that on this this podcast. And if our listeners listen back to July of 2023, I shared the speech that I gave at the Storytelling Summit, or the Storytelling session at the Global Youth Leadership Summit at those games. But it's always exciting to highlight the Global Youth Leadership Summit.
Yeah, we're super excited to be here and share a little bit more about what happened in Turin.
Awesome. And our listeners can, we'll remind our listeners at the end of this episode, if you all want to go back on this recap series that we have on this podcast, as well as some of the upcoming episodes. But if you all are listening in or watching this episode, you can go to specialchronicles.com/Turin2025 and listen to previous episodes with Lou, the Chief of Sport and Competition, a Southern Tribal Global Messenger, a few athletes who competed in alpine skiing, snowshoeing, and dance sport. So those are some of the previous episodes that you all can go back and listen on this series. And we'll remind you what's coming up at the end of the program. But first, Sky, can you give us an overview of the 2025 Special Olympics Global Youth Leadership Summit and its connections to the World Winter Games in Turin, and how does this event help foster leadership among youth with and without intellectual disabilities?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been having Global Youth Leadership Summits since 2001. We have them every 2 years alongside the Special Olympics World Games, so at both our summer and winter games. The summit in Turin marks our 12th Global Youth Leadership Summit, which is very exciting. So it took place in March of this year. We brought over 100 youth and adult leaders to Turin from over about 20 Special Olympics programs, which is a really exciting number and really great for representation. We came together, our co-chairs and our Global Youth Leadership Council and all of our participants under the theme, The Future Begins With Us, which was selected by our council as it aligned really well with the World Games theme, which is The Future is Here. Our summit was really about empowering youth, not just to be part of the future, but really shaping the future. So through our summits, we bring people with and without ID together in what we call a unified pair. So they come as a youth with ID, a youth without ID, and an adult mentor to the summit. and they engage in this leadership journey. Truly, it's engaging in cross-cultural conversations, challenging stereotypes, building the skills to really drive inclusion in their communities. And this was fully led and implemented and planned by our Global Youth Leadership Council, who we have 2 representatives today. So it was a great experience, so much fun, a lot of energy with tons of youth in the room. So really fun experience.
Awesome. I know from my time at the World Games in Berlin back in 2023, when I spoke, and also a few of us, Southern Schreiber Global Messengers, were speaking at different parts of the summit. It was fun to see the opening, that kind of movement dance.
Dance, our roll call.
Yes. And did you guys also have? I know we're going off script a little bit, but did you also have a roll call dance for this summit?
Yes, we had the dance with Danza Kuduro. Maybe you know the song. Yeah, and we dance a lot every day.
Awesome. So maybe after we're recording, Sky or Tim or Louis, you have to send me a video from the summit, and then when this episode goes live, I can share it on our social media for this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. The dance was actually co-created with Caroline Shriver. So Tim Shriver's daughter helped the council do some moves. The council definitely made some edits and made it their own, but it was really cool to see them all collaborate with her.
Awesome. Yeah, I know. I think Caroline went to college or does dance professionally, I believe.
Yes.
Awesome. So and Caroline has been on this podcast in the past, and and I've seen her at a few events in the past. So awesome. Yeah. So if Caroline I'm listening to this episode, shout out to you. So now Louis and Tim, as Sky mentioned, the theme, the future begins with us. What does the theme, the future begins with us, mean to you personally, and how do you see it manifested in the work that you do with Special Olympics and in your respective initiatives?
Yeah, I think I'm going to start. First of all, thank you for the invitation and for having us. It's really great to be here. And yeah, the future begins with us. For me personally, it means that we are the next generation of Special Olympics leaders, and that we are important. We are important. We know exactly what we need, what the youth needs, and the youth is the next generation. And I think it's all about a sustainable organization development also. And we need the next generation to be sustainable and have a great impact, not only today, but also in 20 years. So this is one thing for me personally. Yeah. Luis, what will you say?
Yes, thank you, Daniel, for really nice podcast. It's really hopeful to see you and speak in Germany. Das Thema, die Zukunft beginnt mit uns, bedeutet mir sehr viel, weil wir alle unabhängig von unseren Fähigkeiten lernen können und gemeinsam machen können, die Verantwortung einer besseren, inklusive Welt gemeinsam gestalten können. Als Athlet von Special Olympics habe ich gelernt, dass jede Stimme wichtig zu hören ist und zu hören sein sollte. In meiner Arbeit von Unique United und Special Olympics setze ich mich dafür ein, dass Menschen mit Behinderung ihre Stärke zeigen können und dass wir gemeinsam Barrieren abbauen können und in Zukunft bringen, dass wir aktive handeln und andere interessieren können, dass deshalb mehr tun wird für die Inklusion aktiv.
So to translate for Louis, the theme, the future begins with us, means to him that we all have, regardless of our abilities, the responsibility to create a better and more inclusive world. As an athlete of Special Olympics, he has learned that every one of us has a voice that should be heard. And through his work with both Special Olympics and Unique United, he strives to empower people with disabilities to showcase their strengths and to work together to break down barriers. The future starts when we take action, so we, as seen from the youth, and to inspire others to do the same.
Awesome. It's always empowering to hear what the youth leaders are doing, because I know when I was growing up, I'm in my mid 30s, and so when I was growing up in school, a lot of what the Global Youth Leadership Council is doing, and what the youth youth leaders are doing wasn't around when I was growing up in school. So it's exciting to see the change and the difference that you guys are making. Back to you, Sky. How do you envision the impact of the Youth Leadership Summit on future? Because as we talk about the future begins here, the future is here. How do you envision the impact of this Youth Leadership Summit on future generations of leaders, both in the Special Olympics movement and beyond? And what key takeaways do you hope participants will bring back to their local communities?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the very unique aspects of our Global Youth Leadership Summits is we have a project. Youth come prepared with an idea of how they want to lead in their communities, in their schools, come to the summit, learn these skills, and then post the summit, they go implement these projects and these initiatives. So I hope that this summit has empowered our young people to take action, and we do that through the projects. I think the summit has really proved how powerful youth leadership is and how young people don't have to wait to lead. If they're given the tools, they're given their support, they can create change. And I think too often youth are overlooked. And I think the summit really shows that they are not just the future of the movement, but they are really the present of it. They're doing it. Our council members are leading, our youth are leading. And I really believe that with any opportunity they're given, they will shine. And I see that every day, and I know I will see it continuing for the next summits to come.
Awesome. It's exciting to hear about the different projects. I know from I know we're talking about these World Winter Games, but when I was in Berlin at that Global Youth Leadership Summit, my mentor and I saw not only the projects from the Global Athlete Congress, but I think the youth was sprinkled in. So it was exciting to see the projects that they were working on. Was that a similar thing, Sky? I don't know if there was a there might not have been a Global Athlete Congress at these Winter Games, but was that?
So there is not an athlete Congress, but we did actually have our Global Youth Leadership Project exhibition. So I'm going to leave it to Tim and Lewis maybe to explain it a little bit as the leaders, but we were having that. We have had that at every game since 2019.
Awesome.
So the exhibition, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it was very impressive. We had, I think, 20 projects there. And we had very cool guests also there. So it was very cool. We had, for example, Ms. Toyota there, and we had a little walkthrough. Also with Jamaica, with Albania, very different projects from basketball to foster champion schools. So cool projects and impressive people, young, impressive people. It was very good.
Awesome. Well, just like you, Tim and Lewis, and we'll highlight a couple of those initiatives. We're gonna first go to Lou and Lewis. Sorry, it's a long day. We'll first go to Lewis, and then we'll come back to you, Tim. But Lewis, you've made impressive strides in your career, despite facing challenges related to learning disabilities, like myself. How do you feel about using your platform to promote inclusive leadership, and what does inclusion mean to you, especially in the context of the summit?
Inclusion bedeutet für mich, dass jeder Mensch mit einer Chance verdient, unabhängig von seiner Erfahrung als jemand, der selbst mit einer Lernbehinderung aktiv lebt, mit einer frühen lernt quasi, was seine Schwäche war, und heute eigentlich die Stärke, größte Stärke ist, da ich mit meinen Erfahrungen zeigen kann, die verschiedenen Perspektiven und damit echte Veränderungen bei jedem bewirken kann, weil man wirklich von Menschenbewegung für Menschenbewegung sprechen kann. Und eine Plattform ermöglicht genau das eben, anders zu zeigen, welche Führungsqualität wir entwickeln können gemeinsam, wenn wir in die Richtung alle Gehalten bekommen. Bei den Summit haben wir gesehen, dass junge Menschen aus verschiedenen Ländern zusammenkommen und voneinander lernen können und gemeinsam etwas bewirken können für Inklusion. Und Inklusion ist nicht ein Konzept, es ist eine Bewegung, die eben echte Veränderungen schaffen kann.
So inclusion means that everyone deserves a chance regardless of their challenges. As someone who lives with learning difficulties, I've learned that my former weaknesses are now my greatest strengths. My experiences have shown me that I can create real change through my perspective. My platform allows me to demonstrate that we all can develop leadership qualities when given the right opportunities. At the summit, for example, I witnessed young people from various countries coming together to learn from each other and make an impact. Inclusion is not just a concept, it's a movement that drives real change.
Awesome. I love that. And Tim, now on to you as a co-founder of Friend2Learn. You've worked on bridging educational gaps, especially for disadvantaged students. How can education and technology contribute to inclusivity goals of in the Special Olympics movement and at the Global Youth Leadership Summit?
Yeah. First of all, it's important that education and technology goes hand in hand. I think it's very important, the first point. The second point is education. Education is the foundation for all of us. We learn how to do mathematics. We learn how to write. We learn how to think. But we also learn how we handle social situations. And I think that's the very, very important point about the education. In the school, for example, you are with 25 different people in a class. You are living through good situations, bad situations, and maybe you have a fight. For example, you have a fight and you have to learn how to manage a fight and to have a positive result. And I think in education, it should also be a part to learn how to handle situations, maybe with people with intellectual disability. Example from me, from Germany, I have many friends my age, and they didn't have any contact to anyone with intellectual disabilities. So they don't know how to handle the situation. They don't know that it's normal, that they're normal people and everything is okay. And they don't think about this because in the school, there's a gap of education, really, how to manage that situations and why it's, for me, normal to be with people with intellectual disabilities. So this is the education point, and I think we should, it's very important for everyone. And there we can have a big impact.
Awesome.
And then and then the technology, education in general, and also education for Special Olympics, because with Special Olympics you can have an impact on these things. And then you have the technology point, and with technology we have the possibility to make education more accessible for everyone, to make it easier to understand, have different ways to teach someone, teach people with different learn types, or maybe also with intellectual disabilities. So I think it goes hand in hand, has a big impact. It's very important for the topic in general, also for Special Olympics. Yeah.
Awesome. I love that. And for all of you have all involved in initiatives that challenge stereotypes and promote inclusion, which is a big part of the Global Youth Leadership Summit, a big part of the Global Youth Leadership Council. Can each of you go around the virtual table here and share a moment from your experiences that have made you believe in the power of inclusive leadership. Maybe we'll go around the we'll begin with you, Sky, and then Tim, and then Lewis will kind of go in this circle.
Yeah. So my story or my moment is really the Global Youth Leadership Council. I'm not saying that just because these two are on here, but watching Tim Lewis and their 14 other fellow council members, and just for a brief pause, let me explain the Global Youth Leadership Council quickly. It is 16 youth, 8 with ID and 8 without, from 7 of our Special Olympics regions, including 1 from the World Games hosting program. And they are all selected to participate and be part of our Global Youth Leadership Council. And their main goal is to, 1, plan and implement and lead the Global Youth Leadership Summit, but they also work year-round in their local communities at their regional level to host other leadership events, support resource development, support other regional initiatives from that youth leader perspective. So they are selected every 2 years, and their goal is to really be the youth of our movement and to be that global representatives. We launched this program for the Berlin Summit, and that was our kind of pilot year. And this is our second class. And watching Tim Lewis and truly all of their fellow council members not just organize this summit, but really shape its impact has just really shown me the power of inclusive youth leadership. From the check-in table, which is sometimes one of the most stressful parts of an event, to the sessions and speeches, but also just creating a welcoming atmosphere. I mean, there was so much love and respect and generosity in the room, and it truly stemmed from all of our youth leaders who were leading this event. It did not stem from the staff. It did not stem from anything else but who our youth were and what they wanted out of this event. And watching all of our other youth leaders look up to the Global Youth Leadership Council was just really cool to see. They really made everyone feel valued, and truly a sense of belonging was cultivated. And you guys really make me believe in the work that we do and why I continue to do it. So that's my cheesy spiel, but very true. Really proud of both of you and all the work that they continue to do.
Awesome. And Tim?
Yeah, thank you, Sky. Thank you. I have a short story from Turin. Basically, we had workshops and some roundtables, and at my roundtable was a delegation from Jordan, and there was a boy, very, very shy, Malek, shy at the beginning at least, and I experienced what it means to be an inclusive leader. He was very shy. He was nervous. He didn't want to talk because it was everything new, and international context, and he had to speak English. But we managed to give him his room, his space, and he started to talk. He started to raise his voice, say his opinion, and we had some tasks to do. And we give him respect, time, and patience. And it was very fascinating to see how his confidence improved hour by hour. At his second day, he was totally different. He came there, he talked about his opinion, what is good, what's not good, and he really improved with his confidence and with his motivation. This was very great to see. And I think at the last part, there was the ceremony at the end, the celebration. He was on stage and showed us how he's playing piano on the video, at least. And that was very fascinating to see how he started, and he developed in 2 days, only 2 days, because we created an inclusive space with respect. We listened to him, appreciate his words, and yeah, there was a moment where I saw that's good what we do, and it should be. Yeah, it was fascinating for me.
He was not shy on the dance floor. I remember on the last day, he was out there dancing with everyone. It was so cool. That was a cool moment.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Lewis?
It's a really nice story for Tim. It's really, thank you for Sky. It's really nice. It's really for Turin. It's really nice summit. For me, it's really not easy for the one event. It's a long time for athletes, for Special Olympics. One Event für mich ist ein Event, das für mich ein unvergessliches Erlebnis ist. Fand Special Olympics vor, wo 50 Jahre alt worden ist, wo alle das Jubel quasi gefeiert haben. Da gab es für Tennis ein World Games in Santo Domingo in der Domrep, wo alle Athleten dabei kamen und alle haben keine eigene Sprache gesprochen, keiner hat Englisch gesprochen und trotzdem haben alle gemeinsam Spaß gehabt, gemeinsam getanzt und alle hatten gemerkt, dass es eben wirklich das Wichtige ist, dass man eben gemeinsam Spaß hat. Und alle Guide oder alle Führer hatten das Thema Motto gehabt, Stand up for Inclusion auf dem T-Shirt. Es war so ein cooles Motto, dass man jeder das auch tauschen wollte am nächsten Tages. Und dieses Erlebnis hat gezeigt, wie groß diese Splitting-Familie ist und was es bedeutet, zusammen und stark zu sein. Und dieser Moment war wirklich unfassbar zu sein, wirklich, wie man gemeinsam zusammenpassen kann und unabhängig ist, welche Unterschiede man hat.
Awesome.
An unforgettable event for me was when Special Olympics celebrated its 50th anniversary. They were the World Games for tennis in Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. Despite none of the athletes speaking the same language, we all danced together and had fun. All athletes wore t-shirts with the motto Stand for Inclusion, and this experience really showed me how big the Special Olympics family really is and the importance of solidarity. It was a moment that proved we are unbeatable together, regardless of the differences.
Awesome. I love all three of your stories, and the summit brought, as you said, Sky, the council represents all the regions. Just like I'm now a former Southern Shriver Global Messenger, but just like the each class of Southern Shriver Global Messengers represent each of the Special Olympics regions across the globe. The summit brought together youth from over 20 different Special Olympics programs. What role, and you each can share, what role does diversity play in shaping inclusive leadership, and how can we ensure that everyone's voice is heard and valued?
Yeah, I can kick us off. So I think one of the coolest aspects of the Global Summit is how global it is. You are meeting youth leaders, not just outside your country, but outside your region, and you're really learning from different lived experiences. This year, we actually introduced a pre-summit learning academy in partnership with the Stevens Initiative, where we brought participants, both the youth and the adult leaders, together in virtual discussions around what it means to be a global citizen and the importance of learning from different perspectives. And this was really key in building that kind of foundation prior to arriving at the summit in Turin. It might be overwhelming for someone to walk into a room where no one looks like you, no one speaks the same language, it's very different. So we really wanted to build that kind of creative atmosphere and that very diverse atmosphere prior to the summit. And I think these lessons that we touched on around diversity, around inclusion, prior to the summit really continued during the summit. We had council members actually speaking about what it means to be a global citizen, leading a facilitation and a workshop on it. I think the real impact is that it's not just skills we're building for Special Olympics, but we're building skills for these youth to use them in years to come in whatever they choose to do. And one of them is around being someone who is a global citizen, who is around diversity, and who can share their different lived experiences. So that's kind of one aspect from the summit.
Awesome. And Tim?
Yeah, the global aspect is very true. I think it's the place, the most diverse place I were in the last years, because you are 20 different regions, 20 different cultures, 20 different languages, everyone is different. That's very true. And I think we created a space in the workshops and in the time we had together, where the atmosphere was special, really, really special. The people had fun and were very comfortable. I think no one had any bad moments where he thought that he can't say something, and everyone were open. And I think creating this atmosphere is really special. And I think this is the way how we can ensure that everyone's voice is heard and valued when we create this special atmosphere and take time, be respectful. It's like with Malik. Malik is the best example for me. So you can turn the people from, oh, I'm nervous, to, hey, I have fun. I have fun. It's very good. And I can be how I am. So it's the special atmosphere Special Olympics is creating for us, and we are creating together.
Awesome. Before we jump to you, Lewis, I want to quickly just comment on Tim about what you mentioned about fun. Chairman Tim Shriver. I've had him on this podcast couple of times, and the first time was during the 50th anniversary in Chicago. It was in the hallway of a hotel, only spot that we could record, that we could find to record. But Tim, in his book, he talks about how this movement is all about the fun that lasts when you come to Special Olympics. And I think one of Tim's sons had compared it to going to Disney World, and how the fun at Disney only lasts a short amount of time, but and so to kind of heal to heal how you talked about the fun, it relates to what all Chairman Tim Shriver talks about.
Yeah, it fits very good. That's so true. It's so true.
Yeah, so it just, what you sharing that story really helps to bring Tim Shriver's message to life. It helps to, and I think it kind of goes back to also what you're saying, Sky, with all of the global youth leaders. Tim Shriver's message really helps to, and the global youth leaders helps to amplify what our chairman Tim talks about. Lewis, we'll go to you now.
Ja, es ist really, es ist sehr nice, dass es 20 verschiedene Länder dazu kamen. Und die 20 verschiedenen Länder sind sehr wichtig, um sich Vielfalt dabei mit reinzunehmen. Weil Vielfalt ist so wichtig, dass man auch gemeinsam da zusammenkommt, dass man jede Länder und jede Erfahrung aus jeden verschiedenen Schulen oder verschiedenen Standpunkten diesen Status voneinander lernen kann und da das Beste auseinanderziehen kann. Das haben wir auch in der ganzen Summit gelernt. Und dass 20 Länder da waren, das ist natürlich eine super Chance, so von vielen verschiedenen Ländern zu lernen zu können. Das ist da eine riesige Chance, da gemeinsam zusammenkommen können. Also super.
Yeah, as Tim also said before, it was really important that so many different countries were represented at the summit, and that they all came together and everybody could learn from each other and also from each other's experiences, which really helped to diverse and to have a diverse experience. And that's what really stuck out. Yeah.
Awesome. I love that. I want to take a short break. Then when we come back, we'll come to a few questions individually for Sky, for you, Tim, and Lewis, and then some final wrap-up questions after that as well. Because if it wasn't for our supporters, then we wouldn't be able to keep the microphone plugged in and the technology. So we'll be back after this short break right here with Sky, Lewis, and Tim talking about the Global Youth Leadership Summit at the Special Olympics World Winter Games in Turin 2025. This episode is brought to you by listeners like you. Please join our supporters with a monthly or one-time donation so we can operate our studio and continue our mission, giving respect and voice to people with disabilities. Visit specialchronicles.com/give. That's specialchronicles.com/give to support this podcast. And if you want to access bonus content, you can join out for $10 a month and up or any donations, you can join now at specialchronicles.com/plus to access that. And as we move to you, Sky, as the who is you're the senior manager global youth and education, youth development at Special Olympics. What inspired the creation of the Youth Leadership Summit, and how have you seen it evolved over the years? You piloted a program at the Berlin World Games back in 2023, but what inspired the creation of the Youth Leadership Summit, and how have you seen it evolved over the years? What are some of the biggest challenges that you faced in organizing such a big event at a globe with youth leaders from all across the globe?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've only been working on this for the past 2 summits, but I did do some digging as to why these were created in 2001. And the Youth Leadership Summit, especially the Global Youth Leadership Summit, was really born out of a need to provide youth leaders and students with an opportunity to develop their skills and their leadership skills off the field of play. So we wanted to kind of tap into, students who may not be in sports, but who are really wanting to participate in Special Olympics and build their skills. Prior to 2019, the summit was not fully inclusive. This model of like the unified pairs, so, a person with ID and a person without ID coming together in a delegation, didn't start until 2019. So at that summit in Abu Dhabi, that was our first fully inclusive summit. 50% of the participants had an intellectual disability and 50% did not. And that shift wasn't just about representation, but really fundamentally changing the experience on site, creating a truly inclusive space and a truly inclusive summit. So I think that is one of the biggest evolutions of our summit, is creating an inclusive participant experience. That also changed in 2023 when our Global Youth Leadership Council, our first pilot, led the first Global Youth Leadership Summit that was fully youth-led. So this takes our movement and our summits from just being inclusive to being fully youth-led. They take ownership, our council take ownership of everything, from the logo that was on our sweatshirts to the sessions to, the experience. They take it. So I think that's really the biggest evolution, is seeing it go from being inclusive to being fully youth-led. We say that our Global Youth Leadership Summits are for the youth, by the youth, and we really stand by that. So that's one of the biggest shifts, and one of the ones that I'm most proud to have been a part of and to witness. I think leading any event poses its own challenges. I think having such a global, event is really exciting, though. You can never do anything the same. Nothing will change. Like, everything will change. It won't be the same in each place. And so that adapting to new host countries and cultures is always, an opportunity for growth and learning. But I wouldn't necessarily consider it a big challenge, but really an opportunity for impact. So that's always one thing that I look forward to. But it just takes a little bit of extra planning.
Awesome. And drawing upon that, the project and the work of the summit is not just for you all to travel to Italy. It's not just for you to travel to a new country, even though I'm sure you guys had a lot of fun moments too. But it's also about the bringing real world action back into your local communities and local Special Olympics programs. So how does Special Olympics work to ensure that the summit provides a platform not just for learning but for real world action? Could you elaborate a little bit more on a few of the projects or initiatives that have come out from previous summits, or maybe even highlight a project or initiative that came out from this 2025 Global Youth Leadership Summit?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I've mentioned this, but one of the really cool aspects of our global summit that I don't necessarily see in other organizations either is the really big focus on action after the summit. It's not just a 3-day conversation about inclusion, but what are we doing next? So each delegation that I've mentioned comes with a project idea. This is from anywhere to hosting a unified championship game, to implementing a new unified champion school, hosting training workshops. Whatever our youth are interested in, they lead it. They come to the summit, they learn the skills to refine it, they learn the skills to implement it. And then once they return home, they receive some funding from Special Olympics to actually go and do it. So over the 6 to 9 months, we're going to see all these 16 projects come to life. And that is the difference between our summits, is we aren't just focused on talking about inclusion, we are focused on doing inclusion. One great example from 2023 is 2 youth leaders from South Africa, Charles and Ethiol, launched a soccer club for women in their community. It started as a small team of just one team getting together. It's now become a full women's soccer league that has continued on past the expiration of the project. We've talked to them of why were you interested in this project? And they kept saying it's not just a project, it's social change. They saw that many young women in their community lacked access to opportunities, which contributed to broader challenges like gender-based violence in their community in South Africa. And they really wanted to create a space where women could thrive, build confidence, and find opportunities beyond just being at home. Today, they say that their league is more than just a game. It's a movement and a charge for gender equity and gender empowerment. So what started as just a small soccer project at the Berlin Summit is now changed into a fully fledged social movement. And this is just one example of many. We'll see many of these projects from 2025 go into these large launches in the next few months. Tim and Lewis keep bringing up our inclusive basketball league from Albania, which is really exciting. We have SO Jamaica, who was at our 2025 summit. They're implementing new unified champion schools. Our youth are doing a lot in every community around the world, so it's really exciting to see it all come together.
Awesome. Yeah, it's exciting to hear about a lot of the projects and the change and how these youth leaders are leading the inclusion revolution and being leaders in this movement. Before we switch to Lewis and then to Tim, but what kind of skills do you believe are most crucial for young leaders like Lewis and Tim and the other youth leaders? What kind of skills do you believe are most crucial for young leaders to develop in order to foster inclusive communities?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there are probably 3 ones that I would say, 3 skills. Listening. I think true leaders can hear what others need and create spaces, like Tim was saying, in atmospheres where everyone feels respected, heard, and valued. And I think that stems from being a really good listener. The other is courage to challenge stereotypes, to speak up when you know something's not right, and the courage to make change, which can sometimes be uncomfortable and scary, but I know our youth leaders can do it. And above all, I'd say empathy. The best leaders lead with heart, with humility, and really prioritize people over, other prestige or anything else. They really prioritize actions and decisions that help promote people's abilities. So I would say listening, courage, and empathy.
Awesome. I love all 3 of those skills in my time as a Southern Traffic Global Messenger, in preparing some speeches and talking with my mentor. Some of those skills have even come. I've used and even helped to educate other leaders as well. I love that skill about listening, because I'm sure that's something that's a lot of leaders are always learning. And then with courage and empathy, like those skills really tie into this movement And I love that you highlighted those skills. Moving to Lewis, and then we'll go to you, Tim. Lewis, you've created Unique United, an online platform for which I'm gonna after we're recording, I'm gonna have to check that out, or you can even maybe Lewis or Sky, you can send me a email with a link, and I can check it out and share it with our listeners. But Lewis, you've created Unique United, an online platform for people with or without disabilities. How do you see the intersection of technology and inclusion, and how can events like the summit help amplify these efforts?
Yeah, thank you. Technology and AI is really important now. Technologie fördert Inklusion, zu helfen, Barrieren abzubauen. Mit United haben wir eine Plattform entwickelt, wo Menschen mit Behinderung, Menschen ohne Behinderung gemeinsam gestalten können. Zum Beispiel, wir haben alles in einfacher Sprache entwickelt. Wir haben alles auch so gemacht, dass es Menschen eben wirklich die alles anpassen können, vielleicht die Schriftart, die Kontrastwerte. Und dank die Partnerschaft von AEBE, wird das alles unterstützt durch eine KI, die das alles möglich macht. Und natürlich mit der KI, mir persönlich, schafft es keine Grenze mehr, weil so erschaffe ich natürlich, dass meine E-Mails zum Beispiel, ganze Konzepte oder Präsentationen, alles mit KI mache und so keine Rechtschreibfehler mehr habe. Und bei Summit ist natürlich wichtig, dass es alles auf leichte Sprachen gibt oder auf andere Sprachen, die es Momente gibt, dass es Übersetzung gibt und so wirklich eine echte Teilbe für jeden gestattet wird und gewährleistet wird.
Awesome. I love that. And Louis, how did you experience in Special Olympics tennis and your role at the Special Olympics World Games influence your journey toward becoming a leader in the disability inclusion space?
Daniel, I think, can we have Leonie translate for Lewis?
Oh, yeah, yes.
All right, so Lewis said that technology and AI promote inclusion and help to break down barriers. With Unique United, he has created a platform specifically designed for people with disabilities, including simple language and customization options such as font size or contrasts. And thanks to his partnership with IABLE, this is technically supported. He personally thinks that AI helps him to overcome boundaries, whether it's for emails, concepts, or presentations. At the summit, translations into plain language and other languages are essential to ensure true participation.
Awesome. Sorry for forgetting about the translation. Lewis, how did your experience in Special Olympics tennis and your role at the Special Olympics World Games influence your journey toward becoming a leader in the disability inclusion space?
Ja, für mich von Tennis ist really important. Erfahrung als Tennis haben mir geholfen, meine Ängste zu überwinden, auch meine Komfortzone nicht zu verlassen. Es war eine unglaubliche Erfahrung, mehr zu lernen zu können, viel mehr zu erreichen zu können, um genauso auch mehr sich trauen zu können, durch ganz verschiedene Events, die wir erlebt haben gemeinsam. Seitdem ist es auch normaler geworden, Spiele von Athleten für Athleten zu erleben, weil es natürlich die ersten World Games unbedingt waren, um Menschen mit Behinderung in jeder Rolle sehen zu können, sei es als Band oder als Mitarbeiter oder als Moderation oder als Athlet, und dass aktive Inklusion in jeder Position sein kann und auch gesehen werden könnten.
My experiences in Special Olympics tennis helped me overcome my fears and leave my comfort zone. It was an incredible experience that taught me I can achieve much more than I ever thought possible. Since then, it's become normal for me to witness games by athletes for athletes and to see people with disabilities in every role, whether as employees, in a band, as moderators, or as athletes.
Awesome. I love that. It's really impactful to see the change that you're making. What I'm sure that there's a lot of young leaders that are hearing about the projects and the work that you're doing, Lewis. What advice would you give to young people who are interested in pursuing leadership roles but feel that their disabilities might hold them back?
Das ist really good question. Mein Rat ist, nutzt jede Gelegenheit zum Lernen und euch zu vernetzen. Das Summit gibt eine Plattform, die Möglichkeit gibt, euch die Ideen zu teilen, von anderen zu lernen. Seid mutig, eure Stimmen zu erheben und denkt daran, dass ihr in Zukunft mitgestalten könnt. Gemeinsam können wir alle die Welt schaffen, zu ändern und alle gemeinsam inklusiv zu werden.
My advice is take every opportunity to learn and network. The summit is a platform that gives you the chance to share your ideas and learn from others. Be courageous, raise your voice, and remember that you are shaping the future. Together, we can create a world that is inclusive for everyone.
It's powerful advice, and I'm sure a lot of young leaders who are tuning in right now will learn from you. As an event manager for the Turin2025 FISU World University Games, how do you plan to incorporate inclusive practices into the games, and how does your experience there relate to your work with Special Olympics?
Das ist ein really big event und bin hier für das big event. Meine Arbeit als Eventmanager gibt mir die Möglichkeit, Inklusion auf der ganzen Bühne zu sehen, um auch zu planen, sicherzustellen, dass alle Teilnehmer unabhängig ihrer Fähigkeiten die gleiche Chance haben, dann teilzunehmen und sich wohlzufühlen, dass sie wirklich über den Spielen mitnehmen können. Meine Erfahrung bei den Special Olympics hat mir natürlich gezeigt, wie wichtig es ist, Barrieren abzubauen und Barrieren zu erkennen und aktiv die zu besteigen. Für die ersten World Games von den FISU Games, die größten Studenten-Games, die erstmal inklusiv dabei sind, haben die dann nicht nur Sport, wenn wir dabei sind, dass Palmer dabei ist, sondern müssen auch gerne digital und vor Ort Barrieren mit einbauen, dass alle gemeinsam die echte Teilbe geschaffen wird.
My work as an event manager allows me to bring inclusion to a larger stage. I plan to ensure that all participants, regardless of their abilities, have equal opportunities to participate and feel comfortable. My experiences with Special Olympics have shown me the importance of recognizing and actively removing barriers. For the first FISU Rhein-Ruhr Games, I aim to include sports like para 3x3 basketball and provide inclusive services both digitally and on-site to ensure true participation.
Awesome. I'm sure many youth leaders and many leaders can learn from the work that you've done as an event leader. Moving to you, Tim, at just 19, you co-founded Friend2Learn to support disadvantaged students during the pandemic. Can you tell us more about how this project got started and what impact it has had?
Yeah, everything started when I was 15. I was at school and I wanted to work. And I thought about what I should do. The only thing I was good at was school, and I thought, okay, let's do some tutoring, so one-to-one sessions and face-to-face. And I started having 2 or 3 clients with 15, 16, and then at some day a friend came to me and said, hey, I have another friend who is doing the same like you, but he has a company. And we started together. So I applied there and met Yannick. Yannick was the initial founder of Friends2Learn. So it's Friends2Learn, it's English. Then we worked together, and then 2020 all changed because we had 2 rooms in Düsseldorf in Germany, 2 rooms with 2 desks. So university students can sit there and give 60-minute sessions to students, younger students. So this was the concept. And then everything closed, and we had 2 options. The first one, the business is done, and we stopped there. Or the second option was to go online and try to shift the tutoring and the mentoring sessions online. And we founded Friends2Learn. So it was rebranding, and I was on board. And then we had some months after that, we had a good connection to Vodafone. It was a foundation. It is a foundation, and they searched for a project for disadvantaged students. And we pitched the company, we pitched our services, and we got the deal. And we had the possibility to have 100 scholarships for disadvantaged students during the pandemic. And yeah, we choose 100 students with an application process and had the opportunity to help them. They got a tablet, they got a SIM card with Wi-Fi, with internet, limitless. They got a pen for the tablet, and we had 6 months, I think, a duration of 6 months, where they get tutoring sessions online without costs and support, because it was very hard for them to learn after school, because the school was online and the parents maybe were working or even didn't speak German, or there were also some people who had intellectual disabilities. So yeah, I think we helped there and had a good impact.
Awesome. I love that. And with your background in computer science and your passion for social causes, how do you think technology can be leveraged to create more inclusive environments, particularly in education and employment?
Yeah, technology is great. For example, when we see what we have, 5G, fiber, satellites, maybe Starlink. So we have with technology, we have the opportunity to connect all people. So have the infrastructure to connect all people and can do some very good things. And when we now see some developments like ChatGPT or other language models, we have great tools which are very good accessible for most of us, not for everyone. The infrastructure and internet is worldwide, is not covered everywhere, but it's so good. It's very good nowadays. And yeah, we have the opportunity to use good tools in the education sector. We have assist as like Luis. We have able for websites where we can ensure that people with disabilities can read out, so that the text is read out. We have high contrast, and we can make sure that everyone can access the internet and be a part of a big community. So technology is very important for us and for the inclusive movement.
Awesome. I love that. Briefly touch on, I know we're probably going to be running a little long on time, but you mentioned Chat GPT. I'll throw down that fourth wall in the studio to let our listeners in. And I've never used in the past 16 years AI. Well, I know it's new, but I've never used it to help to prepare the questions for this podcast, but I did use ChatGPT to help to come up with the questions for this podcast episode that we're recording right now. So a little inside for access for you all. And then easy language. I know that was a big thing at the Berlin World Games, that a lot of I know I was one of the athlete leaders on the team that helped that came up with the mascot. But I know in talking with on this podcast, talking with somebody who was in charge of the easy language and translating, and I'm sure I don't know if that was as big at these World Winter Games, but yeah, what you're talking about of using technology to translate in easy language. What your work in politics in Germany reflects a strong commitment to social change. How do you see the intersection of policy and grassroots initiatives like the Youth Leadership Summit in driving long-term change?
Yeah, they are very important. So initiatives like the Youth Leadership Summit are very great opportunities to show what we are doing, why we are doing something. And the policymakers are the ones who decide how we can ensure that these things will be applied in real world and can change a society. So it's very important for the long run that we have initiatives, not only Special Olympics. I think it's very important that we have a big landscape of initiatives which are specialized, like Special Olympics with intellectual disabilities, or other organizations with different disabilities or other things. And I think we should work together, and only together we can do get a change. So this is an important message from me.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, before we get to some wrap up questions, because I know we're at the 1 hour mark, and I've got another podcast episode that I am behind schedule on recording. But what are your goals for the future, both personally and within the context of inclusive leadership? And how do you see the 2025 summit helping to shape?
So personally, the Global Youth Leadership Council motivated me to be at Special Olympics and engage in Germany. For example, we founded last year Special Olympics Germany Youth. Now I'm a part with Leonie and with Luis at the board, and we have a real seat in the board of Special Olympics Germany with the youth, and can decide in which direction it goes in the future. So we want to develop this organization, and this is one of my goals, to develop in Germany the youth and have more members, have more impact, have more connections to the governments, and to be a serious organization.
Awesome. We're going to take one quick final sponsor break, because if it wasn't for our supporters, we wouldn't be able to keep the microphone on and keep the technology plugged in. And so we'll come back with some wrap-up questions. Just a few quick wrap-up questions to wrap up our time together, talking about the Global Youth Leadership Summit at the Special Olympics World Winter Games Turin 2025 with our guests Sky, Lewis, and Tim after this quick break. To let you all know that this episode is brought to you by the ComEd Energy Force Ambassador Program, the country's first energy and solar efficiency education program designed for and taught by people with disabilities. Learn more at specialchronicles.com/ComEd, specialchronicles.com/ComEd. And this episode is brought to you by United Airlines Bridge Disability Business Resource Group, connecting people of all abilities, including hiring Special Olympics athletes like myself as employees. Learn more on United's commitment to disability inclusion for employment and travel at specialchronicles.com/United, specialchronicles.com/United. And back to the program as we wrap up, and for the sake of time, I think we'll I would love to go to all of you for these final few questions, but for the sake of time, we'll if it's okay with all three of you, we'll maybe just have one person answer each question, with the last question everybody can answer. But as the 2025 Special Olympics Global Youth Leadership Summit concluded in March 2025, what is one piece of advice you'd like to share with the young leaders who will be attending? Who would like to share one piece of advice?
Be brave and know that you are important.
Awesome. Great advice. And what do you hope people will take away from the summit, both in terms of practical actions and their mindset toward inclusion? Anyone can.
Lewis, you want this one or the next one?
Ja, I can. Ich hoffe, dass Teilnehmer verstehen, dass Inklusion nicht nur ein D ist, sondern eine kindliche Praxis ist, wo es bedeutet, dass eben jeder Schritt wichtig ist, um Barrieren abzubauen, und sei es in der Schule, zum Beispiel am Arbeitsplatz, und da hier Wünsche zu erkennen und Inklusion aktiv Vielfalt stärken zu können.
I hope participants understand that inclusion is not just an idea, but a daily practice. Practically, it means taking concrete steps to remove barriers, whether in schools, workplaces, or society. Emotionally, I want them to realize that inclusion enriches us all and that diversity is a strength.
Awesome. I love that. A couple of takeaways for our listeners. Inclusion is a daily practice and using, well, it's not just a one-time project that the youth leaders have done, but project inclusion every day. Great. So this next second to final question, I don't know, Sky, if you're able to top any, not that we'll compete in, but it is.
It's tough.
So looking forward, how can we continue to foster and expand inclusive leadership beyond events like the summit? What steps can individuals and communities, especially what steps can our listeners take to make a lasting impact?
Yeah, it's a tough act to follow, those two. But maybe just to recap some of the things they've said is, I think as a society and as an organization, we need to continue to give opportunities to our youth, not just to lead, but to participate, to have a seat at the table, to actually make decisions. I think that's really key for our next steps forward. I think schools and workplaces and other communities and organizations have to embrace an inclusive approach, ensuring that all people with and without ID are invited to participate and to have equal opportunities to things and equal access. And then I think on an individual basis, I think celebrating inclusion in action and sharing stories of impact are only going to further inspire and encourage other people to do the same. Especially as young leaders, we look up to each other. We are inspired. We're encouraged by each other. So if we're sharing our stories and sharing what we're doing on social media, that's where we live. That's where we network. So I think that's a small way to contribute to the overall inclusion movement.
Awesome. I love that. And in starting this podcast almost 17 years ago, I never would have imagined that other Special Olympics athletes are now starting their own podcast and sharing their stories through this platform. So it's nice to see that we're inspired and empowered by other projects and other initiatives. Before we get to the final question, do you all just have some quick final thoughts on your overall time here today on the Special Chronicles podcast?
I loved it. It was my first podcast, and this was so much fun. And so thank you so much for having me on, but also representing our Global Youth Leadership Summit. It was a great experience and really excited to share its impact today. But thank you so much, Daniel.
Thank you.
Yeah, also from my side, Daniel, thank you very much for having us. Was a nice experience. Also my first time, but it was fun. So thank you for the questions.
Thank you.
Ich bin sehr dankbar für die Möglichkeit, wenn der Podcast zu teilen. Und es ist wichtig, natürlich diese Plattform zu geben und Inklusion zu verbreiten. Es hat mir Freude gemacht, diese Situation mitzubegleiten, und bin sehr froh, dass es so viele Wörter, viele Teams des Handels zu bewegen. Und vielen Dank, Daniel, für die Möglichkeit.
Yeah, I'm very grateful to be on the podcast today, and thank you for creating a platform for me and others to share their thoughts and their experiences of inclusion.
Awesome. Thank you all again for taking the time. I know we've gone about 8 minutes past the hour, but we got one final question that we want to leave our listeners on as we talk about inclusion, and we've got a bumper. So let's go ahead and roll that bumper to introduce the final question.
We're not just athletes.
We are the ambassadors of an uprising.
Peaceful protesters.
In a rebellion against anyone
who has a fear of difference.
Difference.
Our demands are
equality.
Dignity.
and the recognition of our
Shared humanity. We will not stop
or accept anything less.
Today, our world is
more divided than ever.
And coming together has never been more urgent.
The revolution
is inclusion.
Find out more at jointherevolution.org.
And we don't just want our listeners to to listen to us. So of course we want our listeners to listen to this podcast, but bigger than that, we want our listeners to take action and to bring inclusion into their communities. And hearing both your stories and this final question will help our listeners to do that. And ever since I came back from the 2019 Special Olympics World Games in Abu Dhabi, I've been concluding with this final question. So I'll ask each of you as we wrap up, what does inclusion mean to you?
Yeah, I can start. So for me, it's creating a space really where everyone can be how he is or she, and be respectful, give time, and creating the special atmosphere which I talked about some minutes ago for everyone.
I guess I can go next. I'll leave it to Lewis. He's going to probably have something better than I will say. But for me, I think inclusion is really about shifting a mindset of one of just helping and giving to one of true partnership. I think we as a society can be better partnered with those with ID, those who are young. And I think that's what really inclusion means to me, is like truly being a partner in this instead of just a tokenistic role.
Awesome. And Lewis, to conclude?
Es ist really nice answer for Sky. Für mich bedeutet Inklusion, dass jeder Mensch gleichberechtigt die Chancen erhält und gemeinsam alles sein kann und es nicht davon abhängen soll, welche Unterschiede, welche Fähigkeiten man kann, und nicht feiern soll quasi stattdessen, was man sein kann, was man alles kann. Inklusion bedeutet, dass niemand ausgeschlossen wird von unabhängig seiner Fähigkeiten oder seinem Hintergrund.
To me, inclusion means that everyone is equal and has the chance to be part of the community. It's about respecting and celebrating differences instead of seeing them as obstacles. Inclusion means that no one is left out, regardless of their abilities to background.
Awesome. Perfect words, perfect message to conclude our time together. I'm sure our listeners have learned a lot from hearing you all today. A few final plugs for all of you listening in. You can shop our merchandise store. Our Disabled Voices Matter merch. We have t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs. 60% of the profits will go back to Special Chronicles. You can shop now at specialchronicles.com/shop. specialchronicles.com/shop, and tap that follow button. You can go back on this recap of Turin 2025 series and hear from our chief of sport and competition at Special Olympics, as well as Southern Survivor Global Messenger Grace Payne. Hear from a few athletes competing in alpine skiing, snowshoeing, and a coach who coached with snowshoeing. Also, a couple athletes who competed in dance sport. As well as coming up in the next couple of weeks on this series after this episode, you can hear from Sean Ferguson, Chief of Global Government Relations, about the Global Coalition for Inclusion, as well as a couple sponsors, Carly and John, who I believe spoke at the Global Youth Leadership Summit from United Airlines. So you can hear from one of the sponsors, as well as one of the volunteers and board members, Jenny Fortno. So go and tap that follow button on the Special Chronicles podcast, specialchronicles.com/Turin2025 to go back to previous episodes and follow and subscribe so you don't miss a new episode. Thank you again, Joe. It's been a long day. Thank you again, Sky, Tim, and Lewis, for taking the time to come on the Special Chronicles podcast. It was really fascinating to go more in depth about the Global Youth Leadership Summit and the work that the youth leaders are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And until next week, we'll see you same time, same place, right here on specialchronicles.com. And until then, choose to include. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Special Chronicles podcast. Our podcast was produced by Daniel Smikowski on the Special Chronicles Network. Follow Special Chronicles on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Subscribe, rate, and review Special Chronicles on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. our website, specialchronicles.com, where you can stream our archives of over 500 episodes for absolutely for free. Also, there's a list of our favorites, original series, award-winning columns, and blogs. And sign up for our newsletter to receive exclusive bonus content delivered to your inbox. Again, specialchronicles.com. Special Chronicles is hosted by Podbean Podcast Hosting. Our live streams are powered by StreamYard. Thanks, as always, to our business manager, Adam Smukowski, who always encourages us to never give up. I'm Daniel Smukowski, back next week with more stories.
Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.